The drop shuttle hissed as it docked with the Orion Interspecies Military Academy. Elias Ward stood when the hatch opened, the recycled air of the station washing over him, cold, metallic, sharp with sterilizing ozone. The shuttle's overhead lights flickered as the doors parted. Dozens of alien cadets stepped off with synchronized grace. Elias followed, boots landing on the textured deck plate. Gravity stabilizers hummed beneath him. He adjusted the strap of his duffel and kept moving. The corridor ahead was massive. Vaulted ceiling, polished alloy walls, banners of each species hanging like silent threats. Clawed feet clicked. Hooves echoed. Bioluminescent scales shimmered. Every cadet looked engineered to dominate. Elias, tall, lean, very human, did not. Stares tracked him instantly. The soft one. That is a human? Small, no claws. Their voices weren't whispers. They wanted him to hear. He kept a neutral expression. Humans had evolved in a place where the universe tried to kill them daily. Their resilience wasn't loud. It was steady. A towering reptilian cadet blocked his path, scales reflecting the ceiling lights like obsidian shards. "Lost human?" the creature hissed. "The hydroponics lab is below." Elias looked up at him calmly. "The Academy sent an invite." "Wrong department." Scales rippled as the alien processed the contradiction. Elias stepped around him, not worth his oxygen. The orientation arena was a massive circular chamber overlooking Europa through transparent alloy. Ice cracked along the moon's surface like veins of pale lightning. Legions of cadets stood in perfect formation. Elias was assigned to row 82, dead center, visible to everyone. The noise dropped when Commander Razator entered, 8 feet tall. The Tarvac warrior moved like a living war machine. Exoskeletal armor blended with his dark blue skin, every plate polished to razor sharpness. 4 arms, 2 legs, predator stance. Yellow-slit eyes scanned the room. Stand. Every species obeyed instantly. Elias straightened with the rest, though his posture was natural, no theatrical rigidity. Raztor's voice thundered through the hall. "You are here because you are the strongest your world's produced." A ripple of pride moved through the alien ranks. Russ. Tor stopped walking. He stared directly at Elias. "Except one." Laughter exploded. Elias didn't flinch. His breathing remained even. "Slow in, slow out." Razator marched toward him. Each step made the floor tremble. "Human, step forward." Elias moved without hesitation. No fear, no pride. Just presence. Razator circled him, studying, dissecting. "Your species lacks armor. Bones fracture easily. Strength, minimal. Reflexes, average. Explain your purpose here." Elias kept his tone steady. "To learn." Razator bared sharp teeth. "To learn? Or to embarrass humanity one final time before we ban your kind permanently?" Several cadets snickered. A feathered Avaxi muttered, "Should have stayed on his mud planet." Elias met Raztor's gaze. "You invited me." I accepted. Silence. The commander hadn't expected directness. Razator leaned close, voice a low threat. "We select warriors, not fragile animals that hide behind technology." Elias felt a heat rise in his chest, but forced it down. Emotional reactions gave bullies what they wanted. "Strength isn't what you think it is." "Then show us!" Razator spun toward the center of the arena. A circular platform rose from the floor. Lights flickered. The station AI confirmed combat training module. Reaction trial cadets murmured, excited. Trials didn't happen on day 1. Razator extended a claw toward Elias. "You will demonstrate your reflexes against the VX-9 reaction sphere." A metal orb descended over the platform, hovering. Dozens of sensors and small ports dotted its surface. Elias stepped onto the platform. He'd read about this device. It tracked micro-movements and fired stun rounds to test split-second reaction time. Used to train species with advanced nervous systems. Humans didn't qualify. Elias locked his knees to stop the adrenaline shake, then adjusted. Relaxed posture, loose muscles, low center of gravity. Raztor announced to the room, "If the human fails to dodge even once, his species loses academy privileges indefinitely." The hall buzzed. Some aliens looked hungry for blood. Elias exhaled slowly. "One test decides humanity's worth?" Your kind begged for efficiency, Raztor replied. I am delivering it, the sphere pulsed with light. Power couplings warmed. The AI spoke, level 1. Raztor smirked. Try not to faint, the sphere fired. Elias shifted exactly 2 centimeters left. The stun bolt missed his cheek by a hair. Gasps, not luck. Reflex, Raztor snarled. Level 3. The sphere fired again. 3 rapid shots this time. Elias ducked, pivoted, and twisted sideways. His movements were precise, minimal. No wasted motion. The crowd quieted. What they thought was weakness was discipline. Raztor's jaw tightened. Level 6! The sphere spun faster, lights becoming a blur. Bolts shot from multiple angles. Elias moved smoothly, letting instinct and past training guide him. Breath control from rescue diving, crisis focus from emergency response. The quiet that comes after panic. A bolt zipped past his temple and scorched the air. The crowd stood in stunned silence. Raztor's voice strained. Why do you move like that? Elias answered simply. Humans don't freeze under pressure. The sphere powered down. Raztor couldn't hide his frustration. He stepped forward, lowering his voice to a dangerous whisper. You are interfering with the demonstration. Elias met his stare. I'm doing exactly what you asked. Discontent rippled through the spectators. Some aliens now leaned forward, curious instead of amused. Raztor wasn't finished. Then we escalate. He pressed a command on his wrist device. The system flashed warnings. Elite mode activated. Lethal trajectory enabled. Several cadets shouted objections. The Academy manual forbade lethal mode for unarmored cadets. Raztor ignored them. Reaction decides the future of your species. Elias stood still. No panic, no tremble. He didn't have claws or armor, just control. He focused on the sphere's movement. Breathing slowed. Vision sharpened. Raztor rang the hall with a final taunt. Begin, human. Prove your worth. The lethal mode core surged with electricity. Elias whispered to the sphere, not to Raztor. Ready. The lights turned crimson. The test for humanity had begun. The lethal mode warning echoed across the training arena. Elite trajectory, stun to paralysis level engaged. Cadets shifted uneasily. No one spoke. Even species known for cold logic glanced at the platform as if witnessing an execution rather than a test. Elias stood alone in the center. The sphere hovered a meter above the ground. Humming like a barely contained thunderstorm, Raztor spread his forearms wide, voice booming. Observe carefully. This is why humans do not belong here. Elias didn't react. He centered his breathing the way the rescue instructors drilled into him on Earth. Slow breath, unlock panic, inhale, calm. Exhale, clarity. The sphere fired without warning. A razor-thin bolt shot toward Elias's head. He moved barely, just enough. His body followed instinct, not overthinking, not panicking. The bolt cut through the air where he stood a heartbeat ago. A ripple of shock passed through the cadets. Raztor snarled. Continue. Increase fire pattern. The sphere's lights brightened. Bolts fired 3 at a time now, angles shifting erratically. Elias dodged the first 2, then stepped into the third's blind spot. Calm, fluid, minimal movement. He wasn't fast because of superior biology. He was efficient because of training and survival. Memory surfaced. Another kind of pressure. Cold water. Darkness. Trapped divers. The only way out was to stay calm when every instinct screamed to panic. Panic kills. Stillness saves. A feathered Avaxi cadet leaned forward. He anticipates the shots. A scaled vest cadet clicked his mandibles. Impossible. He is... Reading the sphere? Elias wasn't reading it. He was reading patterns. He noticed micro-tilts, pressure shifts, subtle change in the sphere's luminosity when it targeted left versus right. Every shot told a story. Electricity crackled overhead. The next volley fired. Elias lowered his stance and let his body flow around the shots as if the air itself opened pathways. No theatrics, only finesse. The silence in the arena shifted from mockery to fascination. Raztor clenched his jaw. One of his secondary hands tapped a hidden command. The AI hesitated. Warning, lethal protocol not recommended for non-armor test subject. Override, Razator growled. Authorization, Raztor Delta. The lights turned blood red. Elias's brow twitched. You're overriding safety. Razator stepped closer to the observation railing. You said you came here to learn. Consider this. Your final lesson. The sphere charged a heavy pulse. Different frequency, deeper hum. Elias recognized it. Incapacitation shot. That one could stop his heart. He inhaled. Not fear, awareness. He analyzed the sound, the buildup, the angle. The bolt fired. Elias didn't dodge backward like an average cadet would. He moved forward into the arc, letting physics work in his favor. The bolt skimmed past his ribs, dissipating against the shield wall. Gasps erupted. A young insectoid cadet whispered through trembling mandibles. He predicted lethal trajectory. Elias steadied his breathing. Sweat beaded along his neck. His heart pounded but did not control him. Razator slammed a fist into the control station. Impossible! He jumped from the observation deck, landing heavily on the platform with Elias. The floor shook. Raztor towered over him, voice low enough only Elias and nearby cadets heard. You are not gifted. You are not superior. You are lucky. Elias held his gaze. Luck fades. Training doesn't. The alien's pupils narrowed. What training? Elias didn't blink. Earth doesn't kill the weak instantly. It takes its time, Raztor roared, fury overwhelming reason. Final mode, he pointed at the sphere. All-out attack. No pattern. The sphere rose, spinning faster, lights flickering unpredictably. The deck vibrated beneath Elias's boots. Bolts erupted in a storm. Elias went still. Not rigid, not frozen. Centered. Everything slowed. He didn't see chaos. He saw angles. He didn't hear noise. He heard rhythm. His body moved before thought. Pivot. Drop. Rotate shoulder. Narrow step. Breathe. The sphere emptied its entire cycle, bolts slamming the walls in a chaotic staccato. Elias slid under one shot, felt another pass through a space where his head had been a fraction of a second earlier. When the final bolt fired, Elias lifted his hand without conscious decision. It stopped against his palm. Spent. Harmless. Cadets rose from their seats. Silence. Raztor stared, chest heaving. How are you doing this? Elias answered plainly. Your species trains warriors. Mine trains survivors. The room shifted. Cadets who had mocked him now regarded him with something like respect. Or fear. Razator's voice thinned. No species moves without prediction. You had no data, no logic. Elias stepped closer, his voice low. You think instinct is chaos. Humans know instinct is pattern recognition faster than thought. A journally cadet blinked. He adapted. Elias nodded once. It's what we do. The sphere dimmed, exhausted of power. It dropped toward the floor. Elias caught it gently, without fanfare. He didn't celebrate. Didn't smirk. He simply held the machine that had tried to break him. Razator stared at the sphere resting easily in Elias's grip. Again, Elias placed the sphere down and stepped off the platform. You want to see strength? I came here to show control. He walked back to his assigned line. Cadets parted for him without thinking. Even the largest species moved aside. Razator watched him go, each step an offense to his pride. No cheers erupted. No applause, just silence. The kind reserved for witnessing something that rewrote assumptions. Raztor took a single step after him and called out. Human, Elias paused. Today was survival. Tomorrow is war. Elias didn't turn around. Then tomorrow, he said, you'll see what survival builds. He kept walking. Behind him, cadets whispered a word no alien associated with humans. Not weak, not fragile, dangerous. The next morning, the Academy's training deck was transformed. Barricades ringed the arena. Automated shields arched overhead, forming a transparent dome. Every cadet from every division filled the viewing platforms. Word had spread across the entire station. The human is facing the commander. Elias entered through a quiet side corridor. No guards, no escort, no fanfare. He carried nothing but discipline. The polished metal floor reflected the overhead lights like a mirror. He walked to the center of the arena where two platforms stood 20 meters apart. On the far side, Commander Raz Tor waited, massive, armored, radiating fury. Unlike yesterday, Raz Tor wore his full combat rig. Exoskeletal plating locked across his arms and torso. Joints glowed with power feed channels. Embedded shock nodes hummed with stored charge. Elias wore a training uniform. No armor, no weapon. A vest cadet leaned to a companion. "This is murder," the companion murmured, "unless the human is what they fear." Elias stepped onto his platform. Razator's four arms uncoiled like blades unfolding. "Yesterday you embarrassed me." Elias stayed silent. "Today, I end the myth of human instinct." The arena AI lowered a cylindrical tube between them. Inside the tube floated a new device, larger than the sphere from yesterday. No ports, no indicators. It was glossy, matte black. The AI announced, "Elite Tactical Drone, Model X9, Unrestricted Response Behavior Enabled." Razator grinned. "This drone adapts in real time. It learns. Faster than your primitive brain could comprehend." Elias didn't move. "The test ends when one of us yields," Razator continued. "Or when the drone incapacitates you." "Yielding is for surrender," Elias said. "I came to prove humans don't need it." Gasps. No one expected a challenge without hesitation. Razator thrust out his lower right arm. "Begin!" The containment field dropped. The drone vanished in a burst of motion, not forward, up. It ricocheted off the dome, reflecting its momentum toward Elias like a bullet. Elias slid sideways, low stance, avoiding the impact by inches. Razator charged behind it, claws slashing toward Elias's ribs. Elias pivoted, letting the strike miss with minimal motion. Redirecting the commander's mass past him, Razator stumbled half a step surprised. The drone flashed again. Second attack. Elias dropped to a knee, exhaling sharply. The drone skimmed above him, slicing a strand of hair. It crashed into the opposite wall and rebounded instantly, faster. The crowd reacted as one. "He saw it!" "No, he felt it," Razator snarled, furious that the drone failed to break the human instantly. "Fight me, human." Elias rose smoothly. "I am." Razator attacked, four arms striking in alternating patterns. Elias didn't counterstrike. He let the blows pass within centimeters while he stepped into empty space that appeared the moment before impact. It wasn't speed, it was anticipation. He had spent years diving in total darkness, navigating through wrecks using only touch and instinct. Panic killed divers. Calm saved them. Razator lunged with all four arms at once. Elias exhaled. Time thinned. He ducked under the first arm, turned his hip to avoid the second, lifted his elbow to deflect the third, and let the fourth swipe pass over him harmlessly. An Avaxi cadet whispered, voice trembling with realization, "He isn't reacting. He's predicting." Suddenly, the drone fired its first strike with lethal force. Elias saw its trajectory before it launched. He sidestepped, grabbed Razator's forearm, and let the drone strike Razator instead. Electricity slammed the commander in the chest. The shock rippled through his armor and drove him to one knee. The arena erupted. The commander roared, shaking free of the impact. Rage distorted his voice. "Stop moving like that!" Elias's face was steady. "Move first. Think later. That's your problem," Razator charged again. Elias dodged, shifting exactly enough to avoid every strike. His movements were almost invisible, tiny adjustments, not flourishes. Elias wasn't faster. He was efficient. The commander's frustration pushed him into mistakes. His arms moved wider, heavy, less precise. Elias breathed once and shifted weight to his back foot. The drone dove straight toward his head. He didn't duck. He stepped forward. Unreachable space. The drone hit the dome, rebounded and aimed for his spine. He caught its hull with one hand. Shock rippled through his arm, but he held firm. Muscles trembled, not from fear, but control. He'd trained his body to work through panic. Razator stared. Impossible. No species grips an adaptive drone bare-handed. Elias squeezed. The drone shut down. He placed it on the floor gently and walked toward the commander. Razitor stumbled backward as if facing a predator, not prey. "Stop coming closer." Elias didn't stop. "You wanted proof. Now you have it." Raztor swung with all four arms. But Elias stepped into his blind angle and placed his palm flat against the commander's sternum armor. The arena froze. Elias whispered, 2 seconds. He slid his foot behind Razator's center of gravity, shifted control, and applied a simple takedown. The commander crashed to his back. Elias didn't raise a fist, didn't shout, didn't posture. He simply stood over Razator. Silence. Not one cadet breathed. Razator's voice came out hoarse, disbelieving. "How did you defeat the drone? And me?" Elias offered a hand to help him up. Humans study what everything else ignores. Razator looked at the offered hand like it was an unknown weapon. Elias didn't pull it back. "You mocked instinct," he said. "But instinct isn't chaos. It's the sum of everything we survived." Razator slowly accepted the hand. Elias lifted him with controlled strength. The commander's voice cracked. "Human, please." "Stop! Not a command! A request!" Elias stepped back, giving him space. "I didn't come here to dominate the galaxy." He looked at the crowd, letting them feel the truth. "I came to prove we belong in it." For the first time in Academy history, every cadet, every species, stood, not from fear, from respect. Raztor sank to one knee and bowed his head, 4 arms folded. "Cadet Ward, humanity stands equal." Elias didn't smile. He just breathed, steady and quiet, the way survivors do. The Academy did not return to normal, not the training schedule, not the way cadets walked the hallways, not the way species looked at Elias Ward. Respect carried weight, and every footstep confirmed it. Word of the duel spread across networks faster than the Academy PR team could control. Recorded footage from the training deck circulated on cadet groups, personal channels, and even leaked across civilian streams. A headline flashed inside the cafeteria holodisplay as Elias picked up a tray of ration cubes. "Human cadet disarms a commander with no weapon." Another appeared seconds later. "Survival isn't power. It's advantage." Analysis by Strategic Department Tellius ignored the screens. He grabbed a seat at the far side of the room. He always chose corners. Habit from rescue diving. Never sit in the open without coverage. Today, he didn't eat alone. A shadow fell over the table. Elias looked up. A Vesk cadet, hulking, scaled, built like a fortress, stood stiffly. "You may sit," Elias offered. The alien sat carefully, claws tapping the table. He leaned in. "Teach me." Elias paused with a ration cube halfway to his mouth. "Teach you what?" "That thing humans do, the—" "Stillness. Controlled focus," Elias said. The Vesk inclined his head. "Teach it." Before Elias could answer, a soft claw tapped the table. A feathered Avaxi cadet settled across from him. "I also want instruction." Elias set his fork down as a third cadet, a Zalari, crystalline skin refracting cafeteria light like frozen shards, joined, and then a fourth, and a fifth. They closed in around him until every chair was filled. Elias scanned their faces. Not amusement, not mockery, expectation. He exhaled slowly. "I don't teach talent," he said. "I teach discipline." The Vesk leaned forward. "Discipline is a weapon." Elias nodded. "It's the foundation of every weapon." He stood. "Meet me at Training Hall Theta after last bell." Training Hall Theta was the smallest deck. No one used it. Until now. Training Hall Theta, 19 hours. The door slid open to reveal 20 cadets. Every species represented. Raztor stood at the far end, armored but unarmed. He didn't speak, but he offered a respectful nod. Elias stepped to the center mat. "We begin with breath." The Zalari tilted his head. "Breath provides oxygen. How does that win battles?" Elias placed a hand on his chest. "Breath regulates the system that decides whether you freeze or act." He motioned for them to mirror him. Better breath, better choices. Faster decisions. They followed. Some stumbled through the rhythm. Others fought instinctual tension. Raztor stood still, watching every detail. Now, Elias said, we pair breathing with awareness. He threw a soft foam ball toward the Vesk without warning. The Vesk caught it on instinct. Why did you catch it? Elias asked. Because it was coming toward me. Because you saw possibility, Elias corrected. You didn't think, you acted. He tossed the ball again, this time without telegraphing. The Avaxi caught it mid-air. Eyes wide in surprise, Elias paced slowly. Your bodies know more than your minds allow, the Zalari frowned. How do we remove the barrier? Elias tapped his forehead. You stop assuming fear is a warning. Sometimes fear is data. Silence spread through the hall, focused, hungry. Raztor finally stepped forward. Show them the human exercise. Elias nodded. The commander remembered. The human drill Elias placed 3 cones in a loose triangle. Stand inside the shape, Elias instructed. Close your eyes. A few cadets hesitated. Close them, Raztor thundered. They obeyed. Elias walked to the edge of the triangle. When you hear movement, step toward the space that feels right. He moved, deliberately quiet. A scrape of boot rubber, a faint shift of air. Cadets stumbled, tripped, collided, but some moved correctly. Elias corrected their footing, refining until motion flowed instead of jittered. Time slipped quickly. Training Hall Theta turned into a sanctuary of discovery. By the end of the hour, cadets were moving without crashing into one another. The Avaxi actually intercepted the foam ball mid-air without prior cue. Raztor watched Elias with a long stare that was no longer hostile. After the session, when cadets dispersed, Raztor approached. You have sparked something I cannot undo. Elias wiped the sweat from his brow. Progress doesn't ask for permission. Raztor crossed his upper arms while his lower ones remained relaxed, a Tarvak sign of truce. You see patterns others ignore. I had to, Elias said. I didn't have claws or natural armor. My advantage was awareness. Raztor's jaw tightened. Your people are more dangerous than we believed. Elias paused. Dangerous doesn't mean hostile. Raztor gave a slow nod. You have earned a place here. Command chamber. Next day, the Academy High Council convened. Holographic representations of each species appeared at the long table, the chair being a translucent, floating form with shifting geometry, addressed the room. Commander Raztor, we received numerous reports regarding the duel. Raztor stepped forward. Correct. You initiated lethal mode testing against regulation? Raztor inhaled sharply. Also correct, gasps echoed around the chamber. Explain, the chair demanded. Tor turned, not toward the council, but toward Elias. I wanted to expose the human as weak. Elias held his stare, expression unreadable. I succeeded, Raztor continued. Silence, until he added, I exposed that weakness is not defined by biology. Every council hologram shifted toward Elias. Raztor lowered his head. I request the Academy adopt human reflex training into the standard curriculum, the council murmured. The chair pressed. On what grounds? Raztor faced Elias again. Because survival under pressure is a greater asset than strength. Elias didn't speak. He didn't have to. The council reached a decision. Human Cadet Elias Ward, effective immediately, you are appointed Tactical Reflex Instructor. A new title appeared in his hollow interface. Standard Human Discipline Protocol, he now had access to restricted decks and the authority to train every species. Cadets gathered outside the chamber doors, watching the moment history shifted. The Zalari leaned toward the Vesk. The weakest species just changed the Academy. The Vesk nodded slowly. Not weakness, efficiency. Training deck. 2 weeks later, the Academy echoed with synchronized breath. Aliens of every kind trained together, following cadence Elias set. Movements crisp. Controlled. The drone from the duel sat retired on a pedestal. No longer a threat, a symbol. Elias passed it without slowing. Raztor walked beside him, not a commander over him, but an equal. Your methods are spreading to other academies. Elias nodded. Good. Do humans feel pride? Raztor asked. We feel responsibility. Raztor considered it. Elias stopped and looked back at the cadets he once trained alone. Strength grows in silence. Raztor looked at him with something unfamiliar in his eyes. Respect. You taught them silence. No, Elias said, watching the cadets move as one. I taught them to listen. The academy no longer looked at humanity as fragile. Now they looked to them for guidance.